Okay, when I first started talking about this movie with Val, she said, "Oh, there's that new movie coming out where the Crawdads sing," and we passed a billboard for it. And I said, "I think that's TV." And she's like, "No, I'm pretty sure it's a movie." I'm like, "I don't know. It kind of looks at a distance like it might be like a TV movie, like a Hulu thing or something." And then I looked into it, and then sure, it was a movie. So we went to see it. I didn't really have any interest. I didn't really know anything about this movie other than the poster, which is just like the lower half of a woman's face. The billboard I saw might have been her whole face, but I went into it thinking it was probably going to be some kind of a Nicholas Sparks kind of thing. And boy, did I think it was not good. I'm not the target audience for this. Where the Crawdads Sing, based on a book, is about a young girl who grows up in with an abusive father. All of her siblings wind up running away and leaving her to be with her father. And she eventually, she's very sheltered from the world. And she eventually, I don't think she's allowed to go to school either for a long period. She eventually, meets a cute boy and falls for him, and life goes in the way it goes. It was really cheesy. For me, really cheesy. Like, Lifetime movie has become like a flippant write-off for for what we would have called a women's film at one point, which shouldn't be a bad thing, shouldn't be a disparaging term, but Lifetime movie has come to mean really thin, cheesy, melodramatic, female-centric film. Like you would say, Sci-Fi Channel movie is really kind of hack, cheap, bad horror sci-fi movie. This feels like a Lifetime movie, Where the Crawdads Sing, and it was just so melodramatic and so ridiculous. And like all of these kids, one by one, this is almost this montage of all the kids have took their last beating from their abusive alcoholic father and had a suitcase and were running off. First it was the mother, and then it was the kids, and until it was just the littlest girl left behind. And I'm just like, she's just standing there watching them leave, and not one of these kids, some of whom are leaving in pairs, decide maybe we'll take the most vulnerable girl with us. Maybe we'll take the most vulnerable child in the family with us. No, down to the last kid. I'm just going to leave you. I can't take being beaten up by this alcoholic guy who may kill me one day or abuse me in many other ways. But you, little sister who's sweet and innocent, I'm just going to leave you here, and good luck with that. That seemed ridiculous to me. Eventually it becomes one of these movies where it's, which cute boy do I want to be spending the rest of my time with? Eventually, something very dark happens in the film, and it becomes a little bit of a mystery as to who did this to somebody. And it was so cheesy. I mean, it's set in the bayou or down south somewhere, where it's swamps, and it's where the Crawdads sing. And it's sweet in some ways, and the lead actress was good, and most of the performances are good, but they're very light and kind of cheesy for the most part. And where the story went was just ridiculous oftentimes, and some of the period setting seemed a little loose as to when it was supposed to be. And then something happens in the movie, and the woman basically has, okay, I'm going to spoil one little thing. So something happens, and she reunites with a boyfriend, and the boyfriend thought something bad happened to the girl, so he hasn't seen her in a while. He rushes back to where she lives in the bayou, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're okay." And then in like a second, they're tearing each other's clothes off and having sex, and it was so ridiculous. It was like, "You look nice, let's do it." I literally was snickering and almost laughing out loud in the theater, which I don't do. I don't ever want to ruin somebody else's experience who might be really into it and loving it. But I was just like, I couldn't help it. It was like so silly and ridiculous. And then the movie essentially resolves itself, but then it just keeps going and going and going. And I'm like, where is this? Are we going to see every moment of this person's life until they drop dead? Hate to spoil anything. The answer is yes. And then there's like one last little thing there, and it was just like, oh my God, it was painful for me to sit through this. Again, a lot of it is very light and overall kind of pleasant, but golly gosh, for me, this was not a good movie. It's done relatively well. It's still in theaters. It's a movie that my mother had said she wanted to see, and I'm like, you would probably like this. You should go see this. And there are certain people I would say, go see this. You will like it. So again, what I'm rambling about here is just my opinion. I try not to give anything away with these things. But for my sentiment, for my mentality, it was pretty terrible. One of the worst things I've seen. I think I'm looking at my listing here. I gave it 1 star on Letterboxd, but I know full well there are people who would love it. There were probably people who were in the theater that day who loved it. So If it looks good to you, I've sort of told you what this is about, maybe sort of. It's this gentle ups and downs drama of this young girl's life who's come from a very bad place, who tries to make something of herself and tries to find love and success where the crawdads sing.